it's Anna here from Disrupt Tutoring, and as always, it's such a pleasure to join you. Today we're going to be looking at a grade 8 Natural Sciences Life and Living question taken from the Herzia Middle School November 2015 exam paper. So let's dive straight in. The instruction here says, read the following sources and answer the questions that follow. And let's look at source A. It reads, rabies has a worldwide distribution. 55,000 people die annually, 31,000 in Asia and 24,000 in Africa. Most infections are as a result from a bite from an infected dog, except in South America, where wild animals, especially bats, are responsible. 515 cases of rabies have been notified in humans in SA since 1928. Of these 515 cases, 344 are from dog contact, 29 from yellow mongooses, 11 from genets and other wild cats, 15 from domestic cats, 2 from bats, and 1 each from a jackal, an ox, a caracal, a honey badger, and a chacma baboon. 108 from unknown sources. There were 5 confirmed cases of human rabies in 2009, whereas in other years, the statistics are in 2008, 16, 2007, 14, 2006, 32, and 2005, 7. This is an extract from Human Epidemiology of Rabies in South Africa, an abstract from presentation at Rabies Seminar 22 September 2009. That is the source of this passage. And then here we have source B. The title is A Cure for Rabies. The survival of a Wisconsin teenager who contracted rabies may point the way to a treatment for this horrifying disease. And this is written by Rodney E. Willoughby Jr. Okay. Rabies is one of the oldest and most feared diseases. It attacks the brain, causing agitation, terror, and convulsions. Victims suffer painful throat spasms when they try to drink or eat. Paralysis follows, yet people infected with rabies are intermittently alert until near death and can communicate their fear and suffering to family and caregivers. Although vaccines against rabies can prevent the illness from developing, until recently doctors could hold out no hope for patients who failed to get immunized soon after being bitten by a rabid animal. Once the symptoms of rabies appeared, typically within 2 months of the bite, death was inevitable, usually in less than a week. In 2004, however, I was a member of a team of physicians at Children's Hospital of Wisconsin in Milwaukee that rescued a 15-year-old girl from a similar fate. Gianna Giese of Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, became the first known unimmunized survivor of rabies. 5 other people who had been immunized but developed rabies anyway have also survived. Our novel treatment, dubbed the Milwaukee Protocol, has stirred controversy among medical specialists. Some claim that Gianna's cure was a fluke. Although the few attempts to replicate the treatment have not saved the lives of any other rabid patients, I fervently hope that we are on the right track. And at the bottom here is a note that fluke means stroke of good luck or an accident. Alright. And here come the questions. So, ideally when you're dealing with questions with passages, especially long passages like these, it's advisable that you read the passages maybe twice and then read the questions before trying to answer them so that you can get the full gist of the story. But because we're doing this ones together, we're going to read them once and come back if the need arises. So again, let's go back and have a look at the questions. Right, the first part of questions 1 says, name one way a human can be infected by rabies. And we read in source A that humans can be infected by rabies through being bitten by an infected animal. Okay, and what effect does rabies have on the body? We look at the sources. We read that it attacks the brain and causes agitation, terror, and convulsions in the patients. And it also causes pain. For example, the throat spasms when one is trying to swallow when eating or drinking, as was mentioned, and it also leads to paralysis and eventually death. So this is the effect that rabies has on the body. Okay. And the third part of the question, source A states that rabies kills 55,000 people annually, and the majority of cases are in Africa and Asia. Provide one possible reason why the distribution of rabies is more common in these parts of the world. So it specifically says Africa and Asia. So you need to ask yourself, what is the common denominator between these two parts of the world? And then we may postulate that because rabies has a wide host range, it could be because there's an abundance of animal life in Africa or Asia. That's one possible reason. We could also postulate that it has to do with the development state of these continents. Largely and generally speaking, Africa and Asia are underdeveloped or not as developed as other parts of the world, and therefore resource allocation and prioritization may go to other areas and not specifically immunizing people and animals against rabies, against the disease. Okay, so these are two possible reasons. So you can choose the one that you like and explain it further, but it has to be a plausible reason. Okay, 1.1.4. What trend can be seen regarding the cases of human rabies from 2005 to 2009? So we were told that the reported case statistics were as follows. 2005 reported 5 cases, 2006 had 32, 2007 had 14, 2008 had 16, and 2009 had 5 cases. So while we see a fluctuation in the number of cases, it rises from 2005 to 2006, but then it falls, then it rises slightly, and then it falls. We see a fluctuation, but the trend is a general decline, because it's generally declining despite these two increases. Generally, from 2005 to 2009, the case is declining. Okay, so that is the trend that you can note there, a general decline. Alright. Using source A, tabulate the number of rabies cases caused by various sources of infection. So all we need to do is read source A again, and we get the following diagram. You can give your headings, source of infection and number of rabies cases. These two columns will suffice. Then we were told that cases arising from dogs or dog contact were 344, 29 from yellow mongooses, and so on until we get to the number of cases with unknown causes. These are the anonymous ones, or you can also write unknown causes and give the number 108. So that table will give you your neat 8 marks. Alright, next part of the question. In source A, it states 515 cases of human rabies have been recorded in South Africa since 1928. Of those 515 cases, 344 are from dog contact. Calculate the percentage of recorded human cases of rabies that were as a result from a dog contact. Now, so to calculate this, we need to say the number of cases from dog contact over total cases times 100 to make it a percentage. So we get 344 over 515 times 100 gives us 66.796%, or to make it neat and to 2 decimal places, our answer becomes 66.80% to 2 decimal places. So that's how you calculate that. The number from dog contact over the total number times 100 to make it a percentage. Great. Now we need to read source B and source C to be able to answer the questions that follow. Right, let's have a look at source C because we read source B already and we can always go back to it. So source C says, medical history has shown most rabies deaths are caused by temporary brain dysfunction with little or no damage occurring to the brain itself. Using this information, Willoughby's team devised an experimental treatment for rabies. Jesus' parents agreed to the experimental treatment. Willoughby's goal was to put Giza into an induced coma to essentially protect her from her brain, with the hope she would survive long enough for her immune system to produce the antibodies to fight off the virus. Giza was given a mixture of ketamine and midazolam to suppress brain activity, and the antiviral drugs ribavirin and amantadine, while waiting for her immune system to produce antibodies to attack the virus. Giza was brought out of the coma after 6 days, once signs of the immune system's progress became apparent. Alright, and the instruction says refer to source B and C for questions 1.17 to 1.19. 1.17 reads, the Milwaukee Protocol involves inducing a coma in the rabies sufferer. In your own words, describe the intended benefit this treatment hopes to achieve. So after reading source B and source C, one of the conclusions we can come up with is that the intended benefit of this treatment is to minimize psychosomatic symptoms from developing. We read that the brain itself does not get damaged, and therefore sometimes for example, paranoia, fear, and feeling of suffering may be due to the brain acting out, or maybe somebody read and heard about rabies and what it causes, and this causes the body. A psychosomatic response is when your body responds to something that your brain is thinking. Okay, so one of the intended benefits is to minimize psychosomatic symptoms. Another intended benefit could possibly to give the body a chance to develop antibodies against the virus. Okay, and another is to help focus the body's energy and resources on helping itself to develop immunity against the virus instead of fretting over the disease and of the fear and paranoia that it also produces. Okay, 1.1.8 asks, name the physician credited with the Milwaukee Protocol treatment. The passage tells us that this was devised by a team of physicians, although history can also tell us that this team was led by Rodney E. Willoughby Jr., who wrote the extract that we read in source B. But for the purposes of this exam, we will write a team of physicians because he does say he was part of a team of physicians that were working on this experiment. Alrighty. Critics of the Milwaukee Protocol state the survival of Anna Gowera, who received this treatment, was a fluke. Do you agree with this? Provide an argument for your answer. Now, this type of question, you get to choose whether or not you agree with the statement, and you must support your answer with facts from the text provided or with contextual meanings that you derive from the text that you read. So for instance, you can say, yes, I do agree that Gianna's survival was a fluke because some of the other patients who received the treatment did not survive the infection, and you go on and explain yourself further. Or you can actually say, no, I don't agree that Gianna's survival was a fluke because even though 5 other people actually contracted rabies after being bitten, they did survive after being given this treatment, and A, B, C, D up to Z. So you get to choose whether or not you agree from the way you understand the passage and what you think. You state whether or not you do agree, and then finally you support your answer with an argument. So then this gives you leeway to decide what you want, what you think. Alright. So that's that on this question about rabies. But before I go, I would like to say a very big thank you to our epic sponsor for making this video possible. Be sure to read about them in the description provided. Also, remember on our website you can find more of these epic tutorial videos. And if you can't find the answer to your question, do send us your question and we will respond with a personalized video complete with a shout out just for you. So until the next time, stay epic.